It's safe to say that Walter Cronkite was not the most trusted man in America, and it's safe to say he was not even the most trusted man among newsmen.
Hi, I'm Nick Gillespie with ReasonTV, and today we're talking with Joseph Campbell. He's a professor of communications at American University, the author of the great 2010 book, Getting It Wrong. Joe, thanks for talking with us.
Thank you, Nick.
We're talking about Walter Cronkite. There's a new biography about Walter Cronkite, and it kind of trades in a couple of cliches about Cronkite, specifically that he was the most trusted man in America, and that his statement about how we couldn't win the Vietnam War somehow turned the tide of public opinion. What's wrong with our understanding of Walter Cronkite?
Well, we tend to put Walter Cronkite on a pedestal. I mean, he was an esteemed newsman. He was the anchor for CBS News for many years, from the early 60s until 1981. And there was a lot that Walter Cronkite, I mean, he was a very familiar figure in American households. But was he the most trusted man in America? He surely wasn't. I mean, not that he was distrusted. It's just that this is very difficult to assess.
Talk a little bit about what, when people were pushed to produce evidence for how we knew this, what was the survey that somehow dubbed him the most trusted man?
This title, this epithet, can be traced to like 1972, and a survey done by Quayle and Company in 18 states of some 8,700 respondents tested the trust factor, what they called the trust factor, of then prominent politicians. Richard Nixon, Hubert Humphrey, Spiro T. Agnew.
The real slugger's row of
you're
people.
Right. And then they threw in Walter Cronkite's names just sort of to sort of get a barometer reading, I guess. And so compared to these skunks, Walter Cronkite inevitably came up on top. So then CBS News used this survey, the results of this survey, which clearly showed Cronkite ahead of everybody else. I think in second place was the generic U.S. senator or something, and Richard Nixon's way down.
The generic, not Ted Kennedy, because he would have been down in the early 70s.
I think Edmund Muskie finished third in this ranking. But anyway, CBS News takes the survey results, and on the day of the election in 1972, in November 1972. Runs full-page ads in leading U.S. newspapers, the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, the Washington Post, saying, "Re-elect the most trusted man in America." And it was a way to tout Walter Cronkite as the source to go to for election coverage among the three networks.
And in polls of the actual network anchors, how did Cronkite do?
It fluctuated. There were surveys done in the early 70s by a polling organization called Philip Singlinger. And one year, Cronkite's number one, and the next year he's like number 4. So there was some fluctuation, there's some variation. So it's safe to say that Walter Cronkite was not the most trusted man in America, and it's safe to say he was not even the most trusted man among newsmen, among anchormen in the early 70s.
So, well, let's talk about this, the apocryphal story that Lyndon Johnson, realizing after coverage of the Tet Offensive, he somehow says, "If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost America." What's wrong with that story, which we all hear? That's
right. It's one of the best-known anecdotes in American journalism, and it is a leading media myth. It's a story that is delicious and appealing and widely told, but on close inspection dissolves as apocryphal or wildly exaggerated. In this case, it's very clear Lyndon Johnson didn't even see the program.
To say that we are mired in stalemate seems the only realistic, if unsatisfactory, conclusion.
And the myth has it that Johnson watched this show in the White House, and upon hearing Cronkite's declaration that the U.S. military effort is mired in stalemate, Johnson leans over and snaps off the television set and says something to the effect of, "If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost Middle America," or "If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost the war," or "I've lost the country." The versions vary markedly.
And you say that's a tell that, in fact, there wasn't a single statement.
That's
because
right.
If there would be an actual quote rather than these variations.
If anyone's precise words should be captured, you'd expect them to be the president's.
We live in a world where, which is saturated in media. I mean, people can access information and media from a wide variety of sources at any time of day. You can push it, you can pull it. And oddly, the media often looks at this and panics. But is it harder now is the level of noise to information higher than it used to be? Or, is this a good time for media from a consumer's point of view, or are we just being fed lie after lie after lie?
You know, I think it is a good time for consumers. I mean, back when Cronkite was on the air pontificating and so forth, we had 3 options, essentially, 3 network news programs. And now there's all kinds of options, you know, cable, over the air, et cetera, and online. This variety can propel media myths in a pretty profound and rapid way. But the variety of options also allows for these myths to be knocked down fairly quickly.
Well, I want to thank Joseph Campbell for talking with Reason TV. You are the author of Getting It Wrong, a professor at American University. Joe, thanks for talking to Reason.
Nick, was a pleasure. Thank you.
And that's the way it is.